Hi, welcome to Beyond Yes No Dowsing. I am going to be your guide on this journey of adventure and excitement. It's a lot of fun. I am Carole Conlon. I've been a dowser for over 50 years, creator of the LifeWeaving Dowsing system. I have a background in medicine. I was a former medical technologist for 22 years and then became a acupuncturist. So I'm working with Chinese medicine as well. I'm an intuitive and a general systems thinker, and both of those have really affected how I use charts. You brought your favorite pendulum, you have a piece of paper, you're getting good answers. What we're going to do today is take a trip through all the possible charts that are available. Once you've done your yes, no's, there's a question, what's next? Dowsing questions can become pretty complex at times, depending on your topic. If you're looking at health, metaphysical, or spiritual questions, relationship issues, you're going to have a lot of fun figuring out some of the answers if you're stuck with just yeses or nos. So there has to be a way to kind of speed things up for that reason. Yes, what we're going to do is start looking at charts. They're faster, they're more complete, they can expand the possibilities depending on what chart you're working with. The sky's the limit. The sky's the limit. So out with the yes, no questions and on to charts. Except before we start, what I'm going to do is begin with what I call easy testing. This is to just use the balance line for as neutral. And in this way, you can test many, many supplements, answer many questions using a list of sorts very quickly. And it's a method that is so helpful that I need to share it with you. If you look at the screen, there's a vertical neutral line or balance line. What you do is you start with your pendulum and put it in a very gentle swing that follows that neutral line. This is called the neutral swing. It overcomes inertia and will save you a lot of time when you're working. Next, you put the subject you want to test on that neutral line mentally. And then third, you add in whatever's being tested. And surprise, there you go. If your pendulum with that combination stays on the neutral line, you know you're balanced, which means you should be harmonious with that, whatever you're testing. If the pendulum, however, drops off to the left of the neutral line, there's a problem. And suddenly, no, you're not very harmonious with that. We can take this easy testing one more step, though, and make it even more interesting. And that is to use a bullseye, basically. I have a circle now, which is 360 degrees. And now we can not only see if a person is neutral, but how far out of balance do they go, roughly? Because you've got 45 degrees, 180 degrees, all the way to 360. You can easily test very quickly again how something affects you. The same process, you start your pendulum neutral swing over the neutral line. You bring in who you're testing and then what you're testing. And then pendulum will either stay on neutral or go off to the left saying, nope, we're not balanced. One other point though, it could also drop off to the right of neutral line. When that happens, something is happening with your guides, guardian angels, and that substance. They will react to the right. I went through a time when I was testing, and that happened to me. And it was the very first time in many, many years. So I sat and started testing what's what. And that's what I found. So now let's go ahead and let me demonstrate that for you. Bring on. the magic camera. All right. I have my camera on. I have my neutral line, big as bold, and put my pendulum into a neutral swing over the neutral line, and then ask your question. And I'll put myself on the line and say, am I compatible with cow's milk, whole cow's milk? Yes, wonderful. I'll put myself on the line and mentally add in soy milk. And now you can see, now the pendulum is working its way finally and gets to almost 365 degrees off balance, because it went this way. And I use a fairly heavy pendulum, and so it takes it takes a while to work through things. Using my other method, get your bullseye there, and now you go on the neutral line, neutral swing, and add the subject in, and what are we testing? And I'll put the soy milk back on, and there she goes, to end up at just not quite 360, a little bit less. If I'm sitting there and I want to try to eat something for dinner, I'm going to, let's say we want to pick some good cheese. So put the pendulum on neutral, add in the subject, myself, and this time I'm going to add in cheddar cheese, Parmesan cheese, Gouda, goat cheese, and don't like goat cheese as much. I'll go back to neutral and just, I can't remember the cheeses, so maybe we'll do this one with milk. So I can put myself on neutral and add in whole milk, whole cow's milk, 2% cow's milk. Now that's interesting, isn't it? I don't do well with 2% cow's milk. So we've gone 45 degrees off balance. We can ask, that was soy milk. The soy milk, add that in, and working the way through, and just about absolutely totally not good with soy milk. So that's the other thing. We can add in almond milk, rice milk, buttermilk. Let's see, cashew milk, coconut milk, oat milk. I don't like the oat milk either. And hemp milk is good. So very quickly, I can cover like 15 different things and find out what I'm compatible with, which is very, very handy. Using this simple method, the next thing we can do is a list of things. And just for fun, what we're going to do is test money clearing, money words that stop people. What we're going to do is a little experiment today, and I want everyone to test along as I do my testing. So make yourself a neutral line, put yourself in a neutral swing, and I'm going to go through a number of words and add them to everybody on this Zoom. If you are compatible and no problem with that word, you're going to stay on neutral. If you're not, you'll find yourself going off to the left so far, or off to the right, if it's your guides, guardian angels. Because we don't want our guides, guardian angels that have money problems. So we'll go through the list at this time and test each word to see how things test out. To do the following money list clearing, I'm putting my pendulum on neutral line, neutral swing over our yes/no chart. At this point, I'm only looking for, do the words balance or not? The adding in the group of people on this class. We're going to just go through the words. You can make a note at the same time or test with your own pendulum to see how things are going. So here we go. Resistance, doubt or fear, change, scarcity, growth. And make a note that growth really went off balance there. Success, rejection, a little bit there with rejection, indecision, stuck, clutter, family blocks, blame. Blame goes off to the right, so guides, guardian angels are involved here. Self-sabotage, illusions, welcome abundance also goes way, way, way off balance, 360, and keeps going. So those are the money resistance words. At this point, we will put them into the holding basket for everybody. Bundle spiral those words down through all parts, mind, body, spirit, on all levels, layers, frequencies, realities, incarnations, dimensions, all time, and then flood everybody with unconditional love. And now picking up again, I've just done the clearing for the words. And the clearing is something I discovered that I use for life weaving. The idea is that we have a frequency or a sound healing going on. When you take two identical sounds and invert them 180 degrees, they eliminate all sound. The sound waves mismatch and it all flattens out and there's no more sound to look at or think about or hear. I do the same for using life weaving clearing, and by choosing words like we have with the money resistance and run those through the body, the mind, the spirit, wherever there those same vibrations occur in the body, they're going to be nullified by the ones we're putting through. Once that's complete, you've got an empty space. Therefore, we want to put in something like unconditional love so that the old stuff doesn't pile back in. So any words that are bad link up with like words in the blockages and they're nullified, they're gone. Any good words, good sounding words that don't have a match will hang around and help to heal. And it's a pretty cool method of healing. It's all about vibrations these days. So now we're going to go back through that list, and I want you to do the testing again that we've cleared, and want you to go ahead, put yourself in a neutral swing, neutral line, and I'm going to go back through the money list. I want to see if there's anyone here that still has a blockage, and we will take care of it if there is. I can put my pendulum back on neutral now and add in the class, and we'll go back through the money clearing, resistance, doubt and fear, change, scarcity, growth, success, rejection. Still up on rejection to the right, guides, guardian angels, indecision, neutral, stuck, clutter, remains neutral, family blocks, neutral. Blame, self-sabotage, illusions, and welcome abundance. So the only word that did not clear at this point was rejection, which had to do with the guides, guardian angels. So at this time, I'm just going to demand that those guides, guardian angels who have issues with rejection or any of the other money clearing words be removed permanently and replaced by ones that are not rejecting money in any way, shape, or form. And I'm asking Spirit, has this been done? Yes, okay. So we are complete now on the money clearing. Money blockages are fun. They are possible to clear like everything else. Okay, now we're getting into charts, and the simplest type of chart you'll find is half circle, yes, no chart. Easy and easy to work with. Always start on the neutral line. Put your pendulum in a neutral swing. Ask your question. Am I Carole Conlon? Yes, I am. Yes, thank you. Now you'll notice my pendulum also went back to the neutral line, and that is because I have programmed it to do so. What I want to see is that the pendulum starts on neutral, gets the answers, returns to neutral, so I know that that part of the testing is complete. This is called programming the pendulum. It works with any chart you're working with. You always want to program and go from there. So now with this chart, we've also added a series of numbers, 0 to 10. That gives us a way to count up to 10 fingers, but it also gives us percentages if we want. We have 10% all the way up to 100%. Now this chart has become very valuable. If you had something on your money list that was blocking, you could test what percent am I affected by it and let it go at that. So that's the most simple half circle you can get into. Now, the charts can get a little bit more complicated, but look at it, it's just actually three half circles with tons of information for you to work with. The first row circle here is what I call the directional ring, and it tells you whether what you're reading is going to be the inside row or the outside row. You also have a left side and a right side, and you'll notice that there's inside, outside on both sides of the ring. So it's just a matter of arranging your pendulum over that ring and ask, where do I look? And it goes to inside on the right side. And therefore, I'm either going to look at time or kingdoms. I can ignore the whole rest of the chart. So here we go. In our, whatever we're testing here, show me the answer. And it's, again, it goes to inside row, elemental kingdom, human kingdom, and now it's back to neutral. And that's the end of my testing. So whatever I came up had to do with human and elemental kingdoms. Human is all about thought. Elemental brings our thoughts into reality. So now we've got all this information on one little chart and linked. Circle charts can get even more complicated. This is an example of my general systems thinking. If I don't see it in front of me, it's like I forget that it's possible. And that's why I buddy up my charts. I studied with Robert Detzler with his spiritual response therapy, and he had 31 handy little single half circle charts. It was sort of a pain in the butt to work with them in my mind. So when I started my system, I decided to change things over. So on this chart, we have a lot more rings. What we start with is, of course, there's a yes, no, and a number ring, because those are always handy no matter what. Then we have foundation and healing section, which shows the various vitamin groups. And then the healing says 2 pillars chart, which means there's another chart you can go to at that point. Next, the middle row section is food. And we've got the major types of foods, then examples of each of those types to work with, to test. And on the outside row, we have different ways to test cook foods, whether hot or cold matters, too much, not enough, the life force, the compatibility, the nutrient density of it, and colors. If you work with Chinese medicine, food colors are very important. So I had to include them in this nutrition chart. To use a chart like this, you don't panic. It's like you've got a left side and a right side. Your directional ring is identical on both sides. So the first thing you do is come into the chart close to the ring that you're reading, which is the directional ring. We're going to start on neutral swing, neutral body, and I'm going to add in my cat, fried rice, and ask what's going on. And it goes to the inside row on the left side, which is vitamins. And we're going to ask what does fried rice need? And it's going to global support. That's interesting. So now I can make a note of global support for my kitty. And then from there, the pendulum is, goes back, we start back on neutral. Anything else that my cat needs at this time? And nothing. Therefore, I'm complete. Other times I could just ask, I want to know about the life force compatibility and nutrient density of what I'm feeding the cat. Cats are terrible. They'll eat and then they'll quit. And then you have to find the food again. So we need to use the numbers. And I'm going to ask about the life force of the Royal Canin food that the cat does tend to eat. And now I'm just looking at the number chart, and it goes to life force of the Royal Canin. How many digits? There's 2 digits. What percent is their life force in it? Oh geez, 20%. Okie dokie. What percent is that food compatible with the cat? Is infinite. And then the next question is, what percent is the food nutrient dense? And it is. But unfortunately, the life force is terrible, which says I maybe should say a prayer and put some energy into it before I feed him each time. You can also use this chart if you know which of these food groups do I need personally. And I'm looking at the row first, middle row is here. Now, what in the middle row on this side, it's vegetables. We could ask what type of vegetables. So now I look at the chart just in this section, and I need root vegetables, fruit, tubers, stalks, flowers, leaves, and stems. And evidently I get enough mushrooms. So that's an example of a chart that looks pretty complex, but really isn't that bad, right? I have another example here of a half circle chart found on the internet of the solfeggio vibrations, hertz. And it may look a little bit complicated, but it isn't. It has 3 rows, and you've got the frequencies themselves, which are the important thing when you're looking for helping somebody. And then we've got some explanation of those frequencies. And in the outer ring, it tells exactly what it does. For example, 528 repairs the DNA. The 963, really high, connects to spirit. To use this, it's simply a matter of dowsing, knowing you've got your neutral line, even though it isn't marked or heavier. You have added your pendulum in a neutral swing, and now you bring in the subject. I'll ask myself, what vibration or hertz or frequency do I need right now? And it's a connection to high self, 963. Now I can go to YouTube and find that particular music and play it and get healed. Once you've mastered your half circle charts, welcome to the circle world. A couple things about circle charts. One of the first things to know if you're working with a circle chart is what's the leading edge of your pendulum swing. A pendulum will swing outward with force and drop back, but then it keeps dropping. So you have to just feel it and practice with it. You'll eventually get to the point where you know the leading edge. Circle chart has a left side and a right side, so that's no problem, is it? So this is another way. If I know the leading edge and my pendulum is going like this over love, and that's not going to work, we're going to say peace and creation. It's hard to show. Opposites. Then I don't know if it's peace or creation. If I use the leading edge of my pendulum, I know the term is creation that I'm looking at. Another way to do a circle chart is divided in half, left side, right side. To use this type of chart, you start with the neutral line, neutral swing. You've added in your subject, you've added in your question. And before you start now, is it left or right side that I look at? It's the left side. Okay, now trained pendulum goes back to neutral, and now it starts searching the left side for answers, and it says without judgment or fear. And now pendulum will go back to neutral, saying we're done with this chart. If there were more things to pick up, we'll ask for that example. So neutral line, neutral swing, subject is on board, asking to see whatever is there for this, and it's starting on the right side. It goes to the word freedom, love, happiness, patience, and then back up to neutral. And now we're going to power, joy, peace, and now back up to neutral, and it stays on neutral. So I've collected quite a few words off of the one chart. They go into the holding basket. We can spiral them through and clear. So that is how to use a simple circle chart. Circle charts can be a little bit more exciting as well. This one is archetypes chart. The archetypes are universal job descriptions. This is a 2-circle chart. I have my directional ring is up above here, inside, outside. I also have shadow indicating golden shadow, dark shadow, collective shadow, or it could be other, not on the chart, or you just ask for something closest. So again, left side, right side. I have my directional ring telling me inside row or outside row. Pendulum goes on board, adding neutral swing over the neutral line, add in the subject, add in the question. I'm going to ask the question with my cat, fried rice. How does she see me right now? Archetypically, and it goes to the outside row on the right. And now show me. And I can ignore the inside. She sees me as a, let's see, saboteur. She sees me as saboteur. Saboteur. Okay, and guess what? That was it. Anything else? Nope. Sees me as a saboteur. She's unhappy that I'm sitting here doing this recording. So once I start this type of work, if I go to the outside like I did, I don't stop and ask to see the left side or right side. I just follow the leading edge of my pendulum and it just naturally just goes all the way around to where it needs to be. If you're looking at the left side, right side, you're going to have to stop, have your pendulum test neutral again, and then go back and show you the other side. And it just takes longer. Now this one is what I call a crazy chart. And as I studied it, it's like, okay, and it's obviously a calendar. You've got days on the outside ring, months on the next ring, lots and lots and lots of years going around, and then earlier, no, yes, later, no, yes, to work with. And even though it looks complicated, again, well, how would you use this? Easiest would be to use a number chart and match up the day. And I could do that if I have my yes, no chart right there. This is why I build little number charts and yes, no charts into a lot of things. My question would be, what date are we looking at? And one digit, and it's the number 3, back to neutral. So I'm looking at the 3rd of what month, and I'm going to translate those in my head into numbers. It's going back to 3. How many digits? 1 digit, and we've got a 3, and back to neutral. So March 3rd, and now we need a year. And rather than scooting through all of that, I know a year has 4 digits, so let's ask, what year did this all happen in? How many digits? Well, no, it's 4 digits. So we're looking at 1110, which isn't on their chart. Okay, but that's how, even if a chart looks complex, it doesn't have to be. And then the no, yes, later, I don't know. They're working it, whatever. Now charts can even look more complex. And this is me again, but not too exciting. It's half circle charts. You have a large number of rings, but you've got your directional ring to say where to go. You've got your yeses and nos as usual. And this is one where, for example, the questions go all the way around. So I might start on the left, but I'll follow it through. The second one on the left side, second row, is relationships. On the right side, however, it's time and check instead. And then the outer ring, which I call the petals, are half circles, except they're a little bit puffier so that we could get more words into them. And like any other half circle, each of them has their neutral line. And that's all you need is to work with the neutral line. When I work with a chart like this, my first question goes to the row. What row am I going to look at? And on this one, it goes to the outside left side. So now I know I'm in one of these petals, 2.5 petals. Instead of staying here, I can line up directly with the petal in this region and ask what the words are. Achievement, acceptance, commitment, clarity, and then back to neutral and back to neutral. We're done. Anything else? Oh boy, here it goes. So now I'm back on the rows, and this time it goes to the outside row, and we're looking at number 5. So outside row, if it could be 4, it could be 5. This one in time, it's saying outside row, and we're looking at 5. So we head for number 5, neutral line, and the word is wholeness, willingness, wisdom. Back to neutral, and we're done. And then back to neutral again, and neutral. So this is how even a chart that looks complicated can be helpful. The other thing that I tend to do on my charts is I put a lot of charts in one territory because I want as much information as I can get. I don't have room to be rolling 31 or more charts around, whatever. And so I will take a lot of these charts you've already looked at, the simple half circle, a double circle, or double half circle, the double circle, and a more complex circle. I just try to get it going faster. Now there's another type of combination charts that I'll show you now. This does both testing and clearing. This is the simplest one that I know of. It's called Be Clear Now. Brian Roberts from Seattle, Washington, and I had worked on this together. It's based on A Letter to Robin by Walt Woods, which you can find on the internet for free. We decided to put it on paper and make it easier to work with the pendulum. The chart consists of both the lists as well as another half circle chart with alphabetic. To use a chart like this, once you've done your preparation, the client is ready, everything is ready to go, you can ask, what's going on. You start at the balance point again, and rather than neutral line, they call this balance. And I need to know which of these lists I need to look at. I'm looking at a chart like this, and I start at the balance line with my question, my subject, and ask what's going on. And this gives me B to look at. I can glance up here, and B has 8 options to work with. So let's see which option the problem is. And it seems to be number 8. We go back up to 8, and it says harmony, rest, sleep, nutrition, fluids, salts, etc. So how much out of balance is it? Is it light, medium, or heavy? It's light. So, okay, we know we need to balance harmony. And to do the clearing macro like we do in the life weaving, you just, again, bundle spiral it all together, the harmony, send it down through all parts, mind, body, spirit, along with blocks, memories, intent, healing, and clear, flood with unconditional love to fill in. And then we can come back and say what is needed at this time. And it says, we're balanced, we're done, cool. It's full. So you can use lists with a chart with numbers and alphabetized if you'd like. Okay, so we talked about using lists to test for balance. We did the money clearing, showed you the compatibility with milk. The other thing to know about lists is it can be so helpful to use a book or GPT to do research. Even with a background in Western medicine, a client comes in and says, well, I've got this disease and, can you help me? And I will often look it up on the computer. If I want to get deep into research, I'll go on to chat GPT and ask what's the cause, most likely causes of this type of problem? What are the best ways to treat it? And just start researching. How do the symptoms come up? That sort of thing. Anything else. And chat GPT is really good for that. We can get the work off the list. I use a book like Louise Hay book, Heal Yourself, where you find the metaphysical causes of diseases. You can just read through the paragraph as your pendulum is dowsing a neutral line. And if it goes offline, now that's my next thing. Okay, so you saw the benefits of using numbers, being able to do percentages, lists, working with special charts with special information. So they're all there and awesome and wonderful. We have circle chart again, simplest chart to start with. We have circle charts, your Veggio frequencies. With the have circle chart, again, the key takeaway for any chart usage is your pendulum will follow the chart. Anyone noticed with my charts, the yes is always on the left and the no is always on the right. This is a little trick I use because most people, when they're dowsing, their yes goes clockwise, their no goes counterclockwise. This is my way, a little test to make sure that you're listening to the pendulum and the chart, reading the chart, not just dowsing. Okay, always remember, use a neutral line and then overcome inertia with their neutral swing. And when you're working, practice by asking really simple questions that you know the answer to help build confidence. Now, the circle charts, we talked the two ways to test, left, right side, or knowing the leading edge of your pendulum. But what happens if your pendulum just keeps swinging round and round and round and round? There's two possible answers for that. One, the answer is not on the chart, or two, it's everything on the circle. In a case like that, just take your pendulum off the chart, say yes, no, and douse. Which way does it go? And that'll sort that one out. So the simplest circle chart, the double circle chart, our crazy chart, and then tips for using circle charts, leading edge of the pendulum, what side of the chart to read, left or right, just split it down. Concentrate on your question, concentrate on the row you're directed to read, only one question at a time, or you will really mess up. Work from the neutral line, return to the neutral line. So make sure your pendulum is programmed and that you are programmed to expect that. Here's the super complex chart, but it's only a few half circles with the direction ring. Here again is the beginner's chart with both the information listed with numbers, with the alphabet, and then your chart to help find them. Basically, I use three main life weaving charts for dowsing. And like the Be Clear Now chart, we can also clear as we go, which is an added bonus. It's awesome. Doesn't leave people in extremis when this happens. So I have the power chart. The yellow power chart is tests for a million different things. The green chart is more for emotions and relationships and blocks. And then the blue chart is the first one I made. I call it Pendulum Research Sourcing Method, PRISM, because at the time that I made it, I was an acupuncturist and we weren't allowed to diagnose what we were treating. It was a little strange, but I just wanted to keep the word diagnosis out of that blue chart. Last thing, don't forget to ask the best questions. I know a person who, very good dowser, he'll pick up a supplement and say, is this the best supplement for me? Yes or no? Okay. And he gets along with quite well with that. A better question I've learned to ask is what percent is the supplement effective? What percent is it tolerated? Then I can test for dosage and timing, which gives me a much more complete look. Recently, I also added in what percent harm to not use the supplement because I work with whole food standard process supplements and the body responds to almost everything they make because it's vegetables and minerals and organ meats. My thing was then, okay, what percent harm to not use it? And if it was 10, 20, 30, 40% harm not to use it, that wasn't enough to take it. And maybe the next month, whatever was 40%, you need it. The other best question is, if I take this supplement, what percent is it going to overlap? Because too many people go into a health food store and the storekeepers are very happy to, oh, you've got liver problems. Here's 3 super supplements that are going to help your liver. You buy them all and you start to take them and you start getting sick. What happens is when you overlap so much, and especially for the poor liver, it has to get rid of the excess. And now it's overworking and it's not happy at all. When I get my complete formulas together, I have their dosages. I ask what percent overlap. And if there is, I'll dive in and see which ones are overlapping. The game now is to try to save money as much as possible. Dowsing accuracy, confidence. You always want to check your answers for accuracy and source of information and have that available. In my power chart, there is a source of information where you can actually test. But let's look at testing for correct answers. We'll start with, okay, here we are with our yes, no chart. What happens is when you've asked your question, what I will do, if I'm feeling that didn't sound quite right, it didn't really fit in with what we were testing, then what I will do is go to my yes, no chart. I'll start out, get my swing going, my neutral swing, and then I'll ask, is that answer infinitely correct? It goes to yes. Is this a lie? No. Is that a lie? Nope. So now I'm confident that my answer is definitely correct. And I'll have spirit help us with an example that doesn't work. So here we go. I've just gotten an answer that I'm unsure about. So I'll ask, is that infinitely correct? Oh, yes. Is that a lie? And you notice how long it takes. It's like, oh, 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 no, it's not a lie. Is this a lie? No. And by then they've got their act together. So it's got to be yes, no, no, not yes, no, no type of thing. It's just something to get used to. Okay. Non-threatening questions to start with. You don't sit down and ask, do I have cancer? You got to have someone else check it for you. Find a pendulum buddy. Mine is in New Jersey. If there's something hairy that I want to know about, I will just send a text saying, I have a question. Is it yes or no? Answer. That way she isn't pulled into the drama, any drama there. Keep a journal of your results if you like to. Stay ethical and do a lot of practice. Okay, as part of today's class, I'm going to send you links for two charts. Be Clear Now chart that you can play with. Know that Brian Roberts is on the internet, on Amazon. He has a book that goes with this chart that will be very helpful if you want to know more. And then the fairness chart and the accuracy truth chart, those were created by someone else. They're so helpful, especially in this day and age when we're dealing with politics. You can really tell what's what. Okay, you can also go for more charts, many more charts. Go to either Google or check Pinterest pendulum charts. And there are thousands of charts there. Some of them are free. There are some templates where you can build your own if you want, and all sorts, sizes, and shapes for you. Fun with those. Resources, I've talked about Brian Roberts. Dale Olson has a book of pendulum charts that come in handy at times. There's a household deal, a lot of remedies, herbs, whatnot that you can use to check. They're all simple half circles, and he includes two questions usually with each that can get you going. Have some fun, and thanks for coming, and keep on dowsing.